Alright you guys, so this weekend I made probably the best purchase I've ever made in my life. I bought a window AC for my bedroom and it's been so hot I can't even tell you, I couldn't stand it. And inside came all of this styrofoam. And I'm always thinking of you guys and I'm like, what can we do with the styrofoam? First I was thinking sculpture, then I was like, no, we're going to make a print. So I took 3 of the flattest pieces and I cut them down to about the same size, and we are going to make a block, a three color block print with them. So as you can see, styrofoam, you're not going to get the most exact image. We're not going to get anything super short because it does break away in chunks, because that's just how it was made. It's made of little beads of styrofoam. So I think we're going to keep it real simple since we're not using any kind of sharp tools, and we're going to do circles for one plate, squares for the other plate, and lines for the final plate. And simple is the name of the game. So I traced the plate size, and I'm going to start drawing some squares, and this is going to be my first plate. And I guess those are more rectangles than squares, but you know. So I'm going to put that on top of my first plate, and I'm going to gently but firmly trace those rectangle squares because I want my image to be left over so I know where to dig away the styrofoam. And I don't want to push so hard that I rip the paper or rip the styrofoam. So you can see I just have a nice indentation there, and that's what I want. Now on the same sheet of paper, I'm going to do my next image, which is going to overlap the first one, and that's going to be circles. And you want to make sure you do it on the same paper, and then put that on the second plate and only trace the circles this time. Once again, use a firm, even pressure, but not too hard. And just trace away all of those circles. And there you see we have our circles. And finally, we're going to just do some diagonal lines. Nothing too detailed, nothing too difficult. And then put that on your third plate and only trace your diagonal lines. Now you remember how we did it with our potato print in the last video. We just kind of gently traced around and wore away and wore a little trench around the shape that we made. Well, we're going to do the same thing here, just very gently. And once you have a nice trench going, you're just going to dig out the inside. You can use a butter knife. I'm just going to keep using my pencil because it's working pretty well. You need a pretty sharp pencil to do this. And just keep digging out what you don't want to print. And I don't want the inside of those square tangles to print, so I'm going to dig them out like I've done there. And this process is messy, so I would put like a piece of paper or like a piece of plastic down, an old tablecloth, so that I can just bunch that up and put it in the trash. Not the whole tablecloth or paper, but put all the pieces of styrofoam in there. It'll make it easier. So I'm going to do the same thing with my circle. Just wear around the outside, wear that away, get a nice indentation trench going, and then just pop out the inside. Now to save us all some time and upload time and disk space, I'm going to do the rest of this off camera, but you guys have the idea. So here are my plates. There is my square plate, my circle plate, and my line plate. Now this is called a roller. And in printmaking, you would roll the printing ink up onto your roller and then roll that onto your plate, and that's how you'd apply your printmaking ink. But not many people have printmaking rollers sitting around their house. You're more likely to have a paintbrush. So we're going to use that, and we're going to just use acrylic paint. Here's a piece of printmaking paper. You can see it kind of has a feathered edge. We're going to just use some cardstock. It'll work out just fine. And you could make some marks there to show where your plates are supposed to go, but I'm just going to wing it. I've always just kind of winged it, and it seems to work out just fine. You just have as much chance of getting that centered as you would if you made a mark anyway. So take your paint, and you're going to just start painting your printmaking block here. And you want to put plenty of paint on, and you want to work fairly quickly because our acrylic paint is water-based, and you don't want it to dry on you while you're painting it up and getting it ready to print. Because usually you're going to be using printmaking ink, and that is oil-based, so you have a little bit more time to play around with it. But because we are using acrylic paint, we need to kind of do it quickly. Not so quickly that you don't have time to work with it, but just quickly so that it doesn't dry. But if it did dry, you could always spritz it with a little bit of water. Now you're going to take that, put it on a piece of blotter paper, take your plate, center it, push down, and then I like to flip it over and just give it a nice rub. And usually if you were doing this type of print, you would run it through a printing press, but of course we don't have one of those, and most people don't have access to those. So here's a pretty good way to make a print at home. And then you can see it came off. It's a good print. So now we're going to ink up our second plate, our circle plate. And I'm going to use like an aqua teal color for this one. Once again, work fairly quickly. Get enough paint on there to make a nice image. Not so much though that it'll leave a big puddle of paint or squish out from underneath your plate. You don't want that to happen either. The more you experiment with it, the more you'll know what's the right amount of ink or paint. And I didn't mention this, but you can keep printing these plates for as long as they hold up. So you can make a bunch of these prints and give them as gifts or something. So then you're going to center that on the other image you printed, flip it over, and repeat. Then lift that up, and you can see it printed on top of my first plate just where I wanted it to. Now finally I'm going to use, I think I'll do a yellow for this final one because that will interact with both the pink and the turquoise, and it'll make kind of an orange where it interacts with the pink and a green where it interacts with the turquoise. So I'm going to take my yellow paint, ink up my final plate, just the same as we did with the other two. What is that, like a jet flying over my house? Crying out loud. And put that on top of my printed image. Burnish it again, rub it again to get that image nice and transferred. Then pull it off, and there you go. There's my 3-color block print. And there are my printer plates. And like I said, you can make as many of these as you want or until your styrofoam starts to fall apart. Now I'm going to show you how you sign a print, because signing a print is different from signing any other kind of artwork. So you're going to want to use a pencil, and in the bottom left hand corner you're going to put your title. So I am going to put Styrofoam Experiment. And then you're going to put the addition. And the addition is just how many prints you are going to make from your plate. So it's called a series. So I am only going to make the one print from my plates, but if you were going to make, say, 20 prints from your plate, you would put whatever number your print is out of that. So if you had already made 6 prints out of your series of 20, your next print would be 7 over 20. Like 7/20ths it would look like. And then you're going to sign it in the lower right hand corner just like that. And that's how you sign a print. Alright you guys, I hope you liked this project. I hope you tried this project. And if you did, as always, post it to your social media. I'm always looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Don't forget that art show. There's going to be prizes. And guess what guys, I'm not going to see you next week. I'm going to see you on Wednesday. So I look forward to seeing you then. Check out the videos where we do part 2 of our printmaking series. Bye guys.